Hello everyone and welcome to our weather update on a cold but dry and bright Valentine's Day 2026. So starting off with the current weather imagery, we can see that we have an area of low pressure that is now sunk off to parts of the Mediterranean, and we also have this next area of low pressure waiting in the wings to our west. And yesterday, behind this low, we did bring in a cold northerly airflow for a time. That brought down some really quite cold air from the Arctic, and this has led to a really harsh frost in many areas of Ireland and the UK overnight last night. But we will see a change coming in later this evening. And really, the main theme for the weather through the coming week will be changeability. So let's see how that plays out. Currently, we have some very cold temperatures in all areas of Ireland and the UK. Everywhere has seen quite a sharp frost away from the far south of England. We have -9 Celsius there in Scotland at Tulloch Bridge, I think that is. We have -3 at Carlow, 0 at Johnstown. We have -4 at Moore Park, -1 at Cork Airport there. You can see coldest temperatures as ever towards the centre of Ireland because of a reduced effects from the sea. So yeah, really quite cold, sharp frost, and the Met Éireann has issued a yellow warning for low temperature and ice. Meanwhile, again, Scotland very cold, widely below freezing, about -1 to -5 Celsius, locally colder than that. Down into northern England, temperatures widely -2 to -5 degrees. Coldest especially towards Cumbria over high ground. I assume possibly over snow cover that would be. Coming down towards Midlands then, again -2, -1, -3 Celsius, flashing up there, getting a bit less cold as we venture into eastern England, about 0 or -1. Wales really cold, -2, -3, -4. Devon, Cornwall about 0 to 2, and 1 or 2 along the south coast of England. So yeah, it's a really cold start. And all areas have seen quite a sharp frost away from that south coast of England. Right, moving on then to our short range then. So this morning it's bright, it is sunny, it is crisp, but make the most of it, especially in the west, because we'll quickly see high cloud coming in. So first of all, that will turn the sunshine hazy before it completely goes away by about mid-afternoon. By those points, we'll see rain pushing in towards Ireland, turning wintry over parts of the northwest, and some wintry falls will come through over parts of Northern Ireland and northern parts of Ireland itself through this evening, especially over high ground, but not exclusively so. Some snow and sleet will fall down to low levels in these areas. Snowfall also as well for Wicklow. Now, as it goes eastwards tonight, we'll see. Okay, so this has been downgraded because the rain, the area of frontal activity, looks to decay, if anything, as it pushes into Wales and England. So we don't see as high rates of precipitation there going into the early hours of the morning. Therefore, we don't see as much cooling of the atmosphere, and it stays more like rain, sleet, and snow mix rather than snow itself. But for Scotland and Northern England, once again, it will definitely be snow in those areas away from the far west coast. Into tomorrow, Sunday, so we push that area of rain through. Some further rain coming into parts of southern England. And behind that, we push into a run of showery and unstable westerly winds. And basically a polar maritime air mass coming through. So we see a band of angry showery rain coming in there. into tomorrow morning for Ireland. That zips across, and okay. We see this little area of rain coming in tomorrow morning into parts of South Wales and Southern England, but we also hang on to the cold air for a time in parts of the east, and that means that as that wet weather moves in, we see higher rates of rainfall, and that helps to further cool the atmosphere down, so that might lead to some snow, quite heavy snow for East Anglia for a few hours there tomorrow. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Either behind that band of showers moves through, and everyone by evening is in a regime of sunshine and heavy blustery showers, some wintry falls still for Scotland and Northern England over high ground, as usual. Tomorrow night, then, blustery and showery, some wintry over high ground, some hail as well in there. And Monday itself will be going quite cooler, so more showers turn to sleet and snow over Scotland and parts of Northern Ireland and parts of Wales into the evening hours. Also, that is as winds go more northerly. Now, overnight into Tuesday, sharp frosts will form. Some winter showers also down the eastern coast of England. Now, Tuesday itself, okay, here is where the models diverge in a track of an area of low pressure that will move somewhere either over us or near us into the middle of the week. Can you see what happens here? With this model, it's keeping the low further south, so it means that it'll be colder and drier next week, and any risk of snow could be further south. So we see possibly some falls of snow from Northern Ireland into Wednesday morning. Take that with pinches of salt. It's too far out to say for sure, but also snow widely for Wales, Midlands, into parts of eastern England. But again, it's a long way off. And it looks like we'll see colder air winning the battle by next Thursday. Right, temperature forecast from the UKV. Really cold this morning. Away from the far south of England, but even there it is still close to freezing. Today will be a chilly but bright day, highs of about 1 to 5 Celsius, generally colder over high ground in Scotland and Northern England. Overnight tonight, well, you can see this marked contrast in temperatures there coming in from the west. So you can see out to our west, 10-11 degrees, but over land, quite cold, and some cooling takes place in the north, hence the sleet and snow. Right, so this area moves through, so it's as the rain comes through, during the first part of that frontal system, when the cold air is still in place, heavier rates of rainfall will drag down that freezing level, will cool the air down further. So that means that snow, obviously, most likely in the first half of the band, obviously more likely as well the further north you are, but also all dependent on how heavy whatever comes out the sky is. Okay, and then we see what happens here. So about 8 a.m. Sunday, 2 or 3 Celsius in East Anglia. But as the area of heavier rainfall moves in, well, temperatures lower to 1 or 0 degrees by early afternoon, and hence we see heavy snow there for a few hours. But look at that, just a bit further west, 4 or 5 for Cambridge, and Midlands 6 or 7, and even down towards South Coast 10 or 11 there. So yeah, very marginal that is, but it's because we just hang on to that cold air for a bit longer in the far east of England there tomorrow afternoon that we could see that heavier area of snow. Otherwise, it is milder or less cold into the afternoon. Highs of 10 or 11 again on that south coast of England, but elsewhere, say about 5 to 9. Overnight into Monday, well, we see quite a chilly start to the day, especially in that strong gusty westerly breeze. So it's going to be about to 4 Celsius. A bit frosty there for Scotland and Northern England, but largely frost-free, because of the winds and showers. Monday itself, highs of about 4 to 8 or 9. 8 or 9, really reserved for the far south of England. And it will feel quite chilly in that westerly breeze, and that will be very northerly into the end of the day. Some colder temperatures starting to descend from the north. So overnight into Tuesday, yes, a sharp frost, especially in Ireland, Scotland and Northern England. A bit less cold for parts of Wales and England. And then into... so we do see some really deep cold valleys appearing there in Scotland on Tuesday evening. I assume that's because of calm winds, really cold air in place, and that'll be over snow cover. So possibly some really cold temperatures there. Elsewhere, frost forms early, but is threatened by this advancing mild air. Other models, as we'll see soon, have that low a lot further northwards. So I'd say like through this sort of line, from parts of Sligo down to Louth, North Wales, Midlands, down towards Suffolk. So yeah, the UKV does have the low quite far south, and that does mean that as we go through to Thursday, it stays cold. Right, GFS. Once again, we have finally... I don't know what happened there. That's a glitch. That's from Thursday's chart, but this is from today's run. So we can see there's that northerly wind that came through yesterday is now being cut off by this area of high pressure, this ridge. These also is back to its default place really, and we have low pressure to our north, and the jet stream is starting to take on the more typical flow. That means we see heavy rain tonight, tons of snow in some areas. Sunday is quite showery, quite cool as well with those temperatures, and then briefly colder again into the start of the week. GFS has that low coming in, a bit more than the UKV. That means that, fewer areas will stay in the cold air. So it's cold air really only for Scotland and Northern England next week, with that low pressure system. Actually horribly like the pattern we've seen all winter so far, but minus the blocking over Scandinavia. Eventually by Thursday, even if that does happen, it is showing it to only last one day, so that's not too bad. By Thursday, we're into a colder northerly once again, before high pressure strengthens to the south towards the weekend of February 21st and 22nd, and we bring in a milder westerly flow for a time before we see a very mild, long fetch southwesterly airflow to end February, with plenty of rain, wind, and whatnot. Possibly stormy for a while as well there, towards the very end of the month. And we go into the start of March looking, actually a bit cooler and staying as settles. ECMWF. Okay, so once again, jet stream is starting to come northwards. There's all sides to the south. That is like a classic zonal westerly. Low pressure near Iceland, high pressure to the Azores. Basically, lows right there, highs there. Between that, we see westerly winds as flat as a pancake coming in from the west. That is classic. That's a classic chart. Into Monday, though, we see a change. Some weak high pressure builds near Canada, and that pushes that low away. And behind that, we bring in a cooler northerly. ECM. Okay, that might bring some winteriness on that leading edge of that low through Wednesday. All speculative. By Thursday, that low is starting to move away, bringing in a cooler easterly to northerly flow behind it. Colder for Friday, but as we go into the weekend, we see the Azores high strengthening. That's kind of odd. there. That's quite cold for the north on Sunday, but milder down south. And then we end up all mild, very mild, by February 24th with a long fetch southwesterly airflow. Could we see? That might be our first long fetch southwesterly flow of the winter. No, it's not. We saw one like that back in December, back on the 13th of December, I think it was. We did see this type of pattern, but this winter has lapsed. That, this pattern has not occurred that often at all this winter, but it has been mild nonetheless. Anyway, here's the UK Met run. So we know that it'll be less progressive with that area of low pressure. So yeah, is it? Okay, it isn't at first, but what happens is it spawns a new low near the channel, and that means that we see a more of an easterly push on its northern side. So you see a stronger easterly wind there into Thursday with the UK Met run, and hence we see a colder solution overall. So although the UK Met run is not that much less progressive with that area of low pressure, it just does things a bit differently in terms of clearing it away by next Saturday. We're possibly starting to threaten a long fetch southwesterly airflow. GEM, possibly, quite likely actually, based on that chart, that is as strong as resource high, and the lows are being shunted up to our north. Here's the GEM. Again, pushing in this westerly flow. GEM a lot further south with that low and a lot weaker as well. So staying cold into the middle of the week. But behind that, actually, we see a completely different solution for the end of the week. Low pressure comes in from the west, like a big wall, and brings us a lot of rain. Eventually colder by next Saturday. That's transient. And by, again, Tuesday, February 24th, are we bringing up an exceptionally mild, long fetch airflow around this area of high pressure? That's the Azores high. It's been displaced for a lot of the winter, but somehow we've still come away with a mild winter. It's been really, really odd, bizarre season, winter 25-26. Icon. So, again, westerly winds into tomorrow and Monday, quite showery, bit of snow early on in some areas, especially in the north. Icon also brings up that low, so we go milder and wetter into Wednesday, especially in Ireland, Wales and England, colder for the north. But the Icon is also a bit similar to the UK Met run. So what it does is it shunts the low, it spawns a new dorsal low around the channel, and that reinforces an easterly wind on its northern side. So, colder for Thursday, definitely. Really quite cold. And then drier and colder for Friday. But I think for the weekends, it's also strengthening towards Iberia. Jet stream is going north, and the lows are staying near Greenland, going towards Iceland, Scandinavia. And I think we're threatening to bring up this wedge of mild temperatures. And finally, the arpege. Well, again, this front comes through, depending on how heavy anything that falls out the sky is, will determine exactly what falls as rain and snow. And then going into Monday, it's quite showery. Oh my god, it's a glitch. And then, okay, so the Icon's cold and dry. The arpege is cold and dry on Tuesday. Maybe recording videos at 7 in the morning. It's not a good idea, but I have to. Anyway, beyond that, the arpege is basically keeping that low completely away from us. Cold and dry is Wednesday still, but I think that these lows will move in and just sit over us for the end of the week, quite likely. Also interesting, the jet stream goes down south again by Wednesday to bring some more lows into Iberia, and they definitely don't need any more lows. Everyone, thanks for watching. I will go and wake up properly now, and I'll see you later. Bye for now. Hopefully the mic's working.